we go now, get that microphone closer to your mouth.
It's all right. You can't see it, but
Oh, easy,
yeah.
easy,
There you go.
easy. I started the video feed. This ain't
I
no
for-
Patreon exclusive. You're not getting
That's
this.
OnlyFans, not
No,
Patreon.
OnlyFans.
Oh,
Anyways,
grinders.
find 5 people
Wait.
on the podcast.
if it'll make us more money, I'll put this whole thing in. I mean, what?
Listen,
Okay, I'm done.
listen. Well, and then he's so excited about it. He's like, even if it doesn't get us any more money, I'll still do it, just to show
Still
I'm
do
willing.
it. Who wants to see it?
Anyways, for our intros.
Hey, we'll do anything to get more money into USPSA and IPSC, except for that. We won't do that.
Except for that. Well, I believe that suspended members should still be able to donate with nothing that contributes to helping their fees. Like, call the bluff. Joining me tonight. Oh, sorry. Welcome to the PARAcast. I'm Tom Nelson. It's year 2023. That's right. You thought when you were a kid, 2005 sounded like the future. Remember, the movie Demolition Man takes place in the year 1997.
Oh shit.
And then it becomes the future, and they don't even go that far into the future. Remember that. The future is here now. We're still buying the same products they were selling 27 years ago. Anyway, joining me tonight.
Yeah, but has Taco Bell actually won the franchise war?
no.
Because I'm still holding out for that one.
The only 2 things that are still good at Taco Bell are bean burritos and soft tacos. Everything else is just some sort of mix. Every time they put rice
Dude,
in
Mexican
something,
pizza's amazing. Shut up.
The Mexican pizza is legit. It's 100% legit.
Get out
It's
of
the best
here.
thing they have. Like, you go up there and you're like, I'd like 3, please.
and this
3? Are you sure you only want 3? Okay, fine. 10.
is why Kenny Terry
Is
gets
that the best you can do for Mexican food in Utah?
No, we got better
It is
stuff.
pretty
No.
Whitesville McWhiteyson.
This is why
Let's
Kenny
see.
Terry gets the meanest intro. Joining me tonight, the only thing brighter than the Festivus poll is when the officer's flashlight was in his eyes. It's Steve Koski.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
I've only had that happen once in my life. Thank you very much.
I'm pretty sure I'm okay to drive. Now, something else is getting slapped at his house. An MP5. It's Robert Wyatt.
Andrea is so happy that she's not the only one.
Mr. Kenny Terry's.
That awkward silence was just really bad.
Well, that's when you know that everyone thinks it's true.
That's exactly it.
Oh, we're thinking about Carl's old gun dudes jokes about slapping his wife around. How everyone's like, ha ha, ha ha, ha.
What's the number for the domestic abuse hotline?
The where's my dinner hotline. Also, he doesn't hunt does. He makes Jane does. It's Kenny Terry.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't even want to know.
Who told you my secrets, Tom?
And he lost another bet. Welcome back, Yeemin Lin.
And always good to see you guys.
What's up, buddy?
So yeah, 2 weeks off. Crazy. Christmas time. The peak time's over. Me and Robert are both sporting some fine Heckler and Koch products, or at least lineage products. Because let's first talk about 2 things. So
God bless the Germans.
one of my customers, very great family, the Peak family. They gave me a $500 gift card to Midway, USA.
What?
And
Wow.
so
You got an H&K?
no. So I didn't get an H&K because I was sitting there going through there, and one of the guns that's actually, and I got some other money from some other customers, so I got myself a TLR1 HL.
Nice.
This thing is freaking baller. This damn good
Hey,
light.
it's still one of the best lights out there.
It's,
All the tech
It's
that's
not
come
as
out,
nice
it's
as
still
the suppressor
extremely
on
nice.
your MP5.
Yeah, buddy.
And so one of the guns that was actually going to stop being made correctly is this SIG SP2022. So this was a polymer frame double action pistol that the French police were ordering, and they ordered like 250,000, and the contract ran out in 2022. So this one is about to be mutilated by SIG and turned into some cheap product. And so I bought one of the last good ones.
Oh, a 320, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. They're going to 320 the thing. And so I decided I'd get one of the last well-built, well-made, old quality Control 6-hour pistols, and so I got that. And then so for my
So is
birthday,
it aluminum frame, like the old SIGs?
no, it's a polymer frame,
Polymer frame.
standard old SIG slide. So
Okay.
big old thick slide, double single, decocking lever.
Big old wide decocking lever.
Yeah,
Cool.
very smooth trigger.
Nice.
Interchangeable backstrap.
Nice double action pole.
Yeah, actually pretty solid double action pole. And then the old Sig Light night sights. And so I got this, and I was just like, this will be fun. And Mechar makes some magazines, so I bought a few magazines and whatnot. And then for my birthday, for the big 4-0, Donitsa got me an HK45 compact LEM.
Oh, it should have been a 40.
No, baby. This thing, it's all, listen, when a mag's this big, you only want 8 rounds in it. And so,
Sweet.
yeah, this thing is one of
That's
the
awesome, bro.
coolest little things. So a couple of little things to notice about the HK is they do something that everyone else should do is on the subcompact guns. They extend the lip on the bottom of the grip, so your finger is not caught in there, and then you're not getting pinched
Pinch
by
the crap out of yourself.
the floor plate in the magazine. So ambi slide stops, O-ringed barrel. HK's doing it right with the sights, where they give you the black serrated rear, high vis green front sight right from the
Oh,
factory, and then it is a LEM, which means that the bottom of the hammer is always pre-cocked. And so as you pull, that there's no play in it. So there's no decocker. The only way that you'll ever shoot this gun is in this mode where you pull it back, the trigger return spring system, the trigger bar kind of pre-cocks the hammer, and then you release, and it's literally like a striker. As the gun cycles, my finger is pinning the trigger so the hammer's back, and then I can let out to a reset and pull the gun again. But when I'm done shooting, instead of decocking or doing something else, I take my finger off the trigger. The gun is essentially, the top of the hammer is decocked. So even if the bottom of the hammer was somehow going to release off of the sear and spear up, the hammer would not have a full stroke to set anything off. And so it still gives you all the benefits of the double action, where you can thumb the back of the hammer, holster it, and then all you get is a nice 4.5-pound break, reset, and then you just shoot it like a Glock.
Right on.
It is
That's awesome.
It's one of the coolest little systems.
How cool.
And so it shoots better than the full-size HK45.
So is there two levels of decocking? One when you take your finger all the way off the trigger?
No,
And then is there another level, or is that
Nope.
the only level?
That's it. There's only
That's it.
It's like a Glock. There's only one way to run the gun, which is bottom of the hammer cocked, top of the hammer free and moving with the trigger. And so every time you pull the gun and the gun cycles, it has that bottom part of the hammer is cocked. And so there's no decocking lever. There's nothing to worry about. You literally load the gun, charge it up. It's already decocked. And then you just holster it and you start shooting. And then after you reload, it's in the same position. You just holster it again. So it gives you all the safety advantages of a double action, but none of the heavy pull of a double action. I mean, it is just nothing to go sit there and set it off. It's one of the coolest.
It's a very clever design.
It is one of the coolest little things. And so
Wait, so what's different when you don't let the trigger out very much?
So what's the question?
What's different if you don't let the trigger out very much? Do you get a shorter pull?
Yeah. It's
It just goes to reset?
Yeah, so if I
Oh.
pull the gun cycles, and let's say I let out a little bit, then the hammer goes in a little bit. And then when I take out that slack again, the hammer goes back a little bit because it's just directly attached to the trigger bar. So as the gun cycles, I do not have to let out to a full reset. I can just let out to the point where the gun resets, click, and fire another shot. And then when I'm done shooting...
Or you can let all the way out.
I can let all the way out, and the gun just safes itself.
I dig it. I like it. I want to shoot it.
It's one of the cool... Bring your own ammo, because I'm not sharing 45 caliber ammo. It's kind of pricey. But,
Dude,
It's
what's
kinda
the name?
funny you
What's the
mentioned
name of
the,
the guy that showed up to a USPSA match and shot PCC with a 45?
Oh, okay. I'll feed
that
out of your
guy.
bucket. The one cool thing that I just realized today is that these two guns are perfect training partners because they are the exact same size, the exact same sight radius, the exact same thickness, the exact same bottom of the grip from the bottom of the trigger guard, and the exact same height. So I basically have a 9mm training partner to the 45
for your
caliber
8
pistol.
plus 1 round
For
45.
my 8 plus 1. Listen, I've been listening to that Heat 2 audiobook, and when they're talking about Al Pacino's character carrying a little Colt Commander 45, I'm like, yeah, I can carry a little 45 too now. It's freaking awesome. So, anyways, I also got
You
the
know, the
Drinker's
funny
Guide.
thing about that, the funny thing about that 45C, I remember, what is it, the first time I met Ken Hackathorn, he actually told us a story about when he and Larry Vickers were working with HK on the 45.
Yeah.
And so the 45C was like, yeah, that's what we told them to make for the full size. And then HK was like, yeah, we're German. We're going to do what we do right. And that's why you have the 45. So the 45C from the story I heard from Ken, like that's what they wanted the full size to be, but German perfection. So they came up with something better.
Well, and this thing returns so much better than the full size. The full size has such a heavy slide, and then when it goes back, it feels very slow, and then returns. This thing's just short and snappy. We shot some.
Have you fired it?
Yeah, I shot about 75 rounds out of it yesterday, and we chronoed some 230 grain gold dots out of the compact and then out of the full size. And the difference is about 35 feet per second more out of the full size, but 820 feet per second out of this thing, so it's fun. Got a JM custom Kydex holster coming, so I'm very pleased.
So, which match are you going to shoot it in? Don't say IDPA because
that's the only place where the gun makes sense. Rob Latham agrees with me. We'll check that out here in a second. Yeah, I'll shoot it somewhere. I'm definitely going to try to go shoot this SP 2022 Unlimited. Get some more mags and put some base plates on it. Robert, show us. The first one to the Grail.
Hang on, baby. I got this. It's a very fine, not German, but clonishly German. It's beautiful. The stock compacts, and it is it's called the AP5, which is from the Turkish company MKE, imported by Palmetto State. No, excuse me, Century Arms. But it is the MP5, and they call it the AP5. So I'm really excited about it, and I can confirm with this suppressor, it is stupid quiet, and you could shoot cats in your backyard and nobody would ever know.
So
I don't know anything about that, but it's a theoretical assertion.
And if it looks that pretty, then why are you wearing a plaid shirt and not a sweatshirt that says "Ho ho ho"? Now I have a machine gun.
Because I have been at the pasture most of the day trying to take care of the horses with the 6 inches of snow that I think there's actually more by now, but all the snow that we've been getting today, it's been nuts. But then, so I got that just before Christmas, and that was really, really cool. But it's nice. It compacts down, so you can like put this in a backpack and take it to work. I know because I did.
It's so funny. These things become like little like security blankets. It's like, I want to take my new toy. You can't take your Game Boy to school. It's like, there's no one telling me now I can't take Game Boy to school. Get in the bag, MP5. We're going to work.
I own the company. What are they going to do? Fire me? But then here's the funny thing. So a little while back, I sold that TAC Sport, and I was like, well, I have all this 40 Smith & Wesson. I got the dies and tons of rounds that I had loaded up. And I was like, I need to have a 40 Smith & Wesson still. I just got to have one. And so AIM Sports or whatever. AIM Surplus. They'll sell old copper guns. And so they were selling this Glock 22 for like $320 or something like that. So I bought it was a police trade-in Glock 22 Gen 4, and I wanted a Gen 4 because I can swap the mag release, and that's the whole point of it in the first place. But I kind of forgot that it was there, and so I actually went to pick up the MP5, and they're like, "Yeah," they brought out 2 boxes, and I'm like, "Hey, Christmas has come early,
sir. You have to take this by law. You have to take this, sir."
And so,
Robert, I have a Ziploc bag with about 8 or 10 40 mags for you.
I will absolutely take them. It is funny, like it's not easy to find. Like, so this company ETS, they sell their translucent mags, which is fine, but it's fine. But yeah, it's hard to find 20 Glock 40 Smith & Wesson mags now. So yeah, that'd be way awesome.
Sweet.
So,
but this is interesting. This gun, it's obviously a cop's gun because it's probably been fired like 3 or 4 times during
Lots
their
of holster
qualification.
wear.
Oh yeah, actually, you know what, Steve? Though it's actually not bad, but you can tell on the it was worn
In
by
two
a
spots.
by a right-handed cop naturally, but there's literally more dust than there is like actual like carbon fouling or anything. That weird coppery stuff that all Glocks all come with, it was still very much
gosh.
inside of here. But it came with this New York trigger, which I had
Installed?
never seen before. It was all installed.
Oh,
It's the weirdest thing, and the trigger
my trigger's broke. I'm dry firing. My trigger's broke. What's
I'm
wrong
using
with this
2
thing?
hands. I can't get it to go off.
Robert
it's
probably
stout.
he probably went there with like he probably secretly was like, oh, I've been shooting a 2-pound trigger for too long. Like I can't do this. It's a 5.5-pound trigger. I can't pull this anymore.
Well, that's actually the thing about the MP5. The MP5, I'm always going to call it the MP5 because that's what everybody knows, even though it's a clone version. But the triggers
Not good triggers.
are not known for being like match grade triggers, and you can certainly buy triggers, but I like it the way it is. It pulls in, it stacks up. It's probably got 4.5, 5-pound trigger, something like that. So it certainly makes you want to be sure that it's going off, but it shoots
Come
just
on.
fine.
Whip out your Dremel tool. You could get that down to about a pound.
Oh, so funny thing. Ugh. So this did not come with this brace on the back of it. It's just a pistol to here, and so you can put this brace on it from as an SP Tactical, and they make a handful of braces and stuff. The problem is the brace itself is made very much for the HK series gun. And a lot of these clone guns, they're really good, but they the tolerances aren't always exact. And so I got this thing, I brought it home, and I go to put the brace onto it, and it's like it's not going. And I'm like, all right, well, Andrea, I'll be downstairs in the basement. So yeah, I spent the next couple hours just I kind of like I pushed the back plate onto it. I noticed where there was the wear marks, and I took a file and just started like going through it and everything so I could get it to actually put itself together. But it even says in the SP Tactical, the instruction manual on how to put it together, this thing may require some minor fitting. If you're not competent, send it to a proper gunsmith. And I'm like, oh, I've got a Dremel tool, so I'm obviously a proper gunsmith. But
And your Wile E. Coyote School of Gunsmithing certificate proves that.
Yeah, so right up there on the wall.
It's like
I've been on YouTube. I know how this works.
I've spilled die chem all over my workbench. That's as good of a certification as I need. Here we go. Like I know where it fits, what doesn't.
You guys, you got to come. I will bring it to a match, but you got to come and shoot it. If you never shot one, obviously. I mean, the MP5 is glorious because of how well it works as a fully auto gun. I mean, that is really the jam. There's no doubt about it. But this gun, I mean, it was snowing last night, so you could shoot all you wanted and nobody would ever hear you, especially with the suppressor. And the gun doesn't move. It's just like, clack, 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 clack. I finally found a gun that Federal Syntec ammo likes, those big 150 grain bullets.
Nice. And
they're just stupid quiet. It's fun. I am so happy I got this thing. I actually Palmetto State all month long in December. They kept like putting the deal out because you could get like $300 off of it or whatever. And I kept
what's the approximate price before
by the time I was done with this thing? So you could buy it. It was about $1,000 just for the pistol for the MP5. The brace I bought directly from SP Tactical. It was $300. The suppressor I already had that. But then you can buy the magazines are anywhere from $22 to about $60. But apparently there's a company. Magpul. Magpul makes one of their drums that you can dump onto it. But they also make, which is nice, an ambi safety. And for this safety, I don't know if this is just by design, but it is stout. I mean, when you get on it, you really have to thumb that sucker off to get it to go. You can't put it back on.
They're not see, with the heavy trigger and with the safety, they weren't fans of people accidentally going into fully automatic fire.
Okay. So that's why they made it so just crunchy.
Not
it's not crunchy. It's just stiff.
Not a lot of people like the surprise. You fired more than you intended. Like
Yeah.
that was one of those things. And so like they came up with like what they would do is, since it doesn't have a trigger stop, they would purposely put more of their finger in, and so that their finger would act as a trigger stop, because the semi-automatic breaks way farther than the full automatic. So they would use the tip of their finger, go bang, 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 and leave the gun on full automatic. And then when they needed a burst, they would pick up their finger and close more in, and then hold it down. And so they could tap out single fire shots and then hold it down when they needed to do that.
How interesting.
Just to kind of avoid some of the safety. But yeah, so that way they could go from safe and then go into fully automatic, but they would actually be using their trigger finger to appropriate the amount of lead that was going downrange.
So
awesome.
with your
So you're going to be
$300
demonstrating
discount,
that. You're going to be demonstrating that at the next match you shoot PCC.
Mhm.
Pew
I
pew
hope so.
pew. Whoops.
I'm just sitting here watching Robert with his Glock 22 and his MP5 auditioning for like the 1999 SWAT team, and then I have my 2 double action handguns that are like extremely well built, and I'm like, the good old days.
Yeah, buddy.
Now we get 3-pound triggers that aren't drop safe. Gotta love it. Steven?
nothing terribly exciting. I do it's been a couple of years, but a reloading forum I'm on. We did a Festivus gift exchange this year. Excuse me. And I got some Sig Sauer bullets, a tourniquet, and
Guaranteed to be minor. Very, very, very minor.
It's actually up to me whether they're minor or not. Some Starline brass to load them in, and
Nice.
and a tourniquet, a little tourniquet in case I blow my leg off.
I would
sweet.
strap that to the press. I have not seen a lot of Instagram photos of people with tourniquets by the press.
The press tourniquet.
I should come up with a Lee Loadmaster thing that goes underneath the primer tray that holds a tourniquet, just in case. Just in case the pot metal sticks in your arm. Kenny?
Yeah,
I haven't done any shooting in December.
No,
I bought a new 300 Win Mag rifle that I got to
of course,
finally
of course.
break in, but that's about all I've done.
I'm so depressed in you.
I did
For
spend a
what?
week in Baltimore, and I will report that I saw nothing but there are 2 guns that the cops carry in D.C. There's Glocks, and there's stainless steel Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum revolvers. And those aren't cops.
Wow.
Those are private security. Those are private security. They're inside some of the museums. And I did see about 5 or 6 of those. And there's not a Smith & Wesson. There's not a Sig Sauer. There's nothing else in that city, at least that I could see in 4 days of going into the city.
That's
Wow.
like
And the Glocks all have the stock sights, the whole deal.
yeah, that's like Big East contracts. Like, no, this is what you're doing. We don't trust you guys with your own guns. What were those Sig bullets, Stevie? You're holding one up a second ago.
Like the
They're
V-Crowns or
this-
whatever?
The V crowns.
The Sig V Crown 124 grain. I don't know. Is there something fancy about these?
The
No. They're
bonded-
good.
It's
They're really good bullets. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, they're actually a pretty solid jacket at hollow point.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure Mason shoots with those, and so does Max.
No, nice. Nicely
Wicked
done.
accurate.
Yep.
Unless you're shooting 25-yard partials at Area 5, and then it sucks to be you.
No,
Max.
listen. They were accurate.
I mean, yeah, they were accurately
always the
not going
bullet.
where he wanted them to.
It's never
3 in the
shooting.
black.
KT. So KT buys
you know what?
another railgun to lay
I
behind.
am going to live forever in the memory that I actually once beat Max Michelle on stage. I will be proud of that. I'll never have any other glory in life, but I can say that.
Well, bring that MP5 with you for self-defense when he decides to listen to this. So Kenny buys a railgun, another one to lay behind. This one is a
300 Win Mag. Savage 110 tactical.
And this fills the need in the arsenal
For elk hunting.
because for elk hunting, because this doesn't sound like a 6.5 or 6 something or an arc something to lay behind. This is just a gun to go hunting with.
Correct. So last year elk hunting, I saw an elk at 650 yards. and I wasn't willing to punch it with my 270 at that distance. And I went, F this. Next year, I'm gonna have enough gun for this. And so, yeah.
So does this gun weigh south of 20 pounds?
God, no. It's a hunting rifle
20?
with the scope, bipod, sling, and everything is 10
Oh
pounds.
my gosh.
Okay. I just want
It's
to.
10?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Oh, that's not bad. I mean, that's just a little bit more than what my
Yeah.
pistol weighs.
Yeah, with a 5-port muzzle brake so I can dampen the recoil.
The 5-port. Everybody, cover your ears now. Here we go.
That's actually the problem. So it is so effing loud. Like it doesn't recoil like everybody thinks. 300 Win mag. It's a 200 grain bullet going 3,000 feet per second.
Right.
But with that muzzle brake, even my wife was shooting it. But I gotta do something for hunting because I guarantee one shot, no hearing protection is gonna be some damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got those Walker XLs, so just turn those on and crank up the pro sound. And
I've thought about that.
That's when you take the suppressor there, big guy.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's. But then a 24-inch barrel turns into a 30-inch barrel, and I don't know if I want to hunt with that.
I don't think my Amtech. I think that only adds what was it, like 4 inches over the end of the barrel. It's still long, but
just a
I
big
mean it's a lot. It's a lot better than
Over the
most.
barrel one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
walking cane. Yeemin Lin, president.
Sir.
On a break. Obviously,
No,
by the
I
state,
wish I was on a break.
the state of your bed behind you, taking it easy. So, so what's up in your world, bud?
I didn't get anything nifty like you guys did for Christmas. So instead, I think I either got some form of bronchitis or got something on Christmas and ended up being down for most of the week, which was not timely because we've got a lot of things coming up for next year. So instead of receiving presents, I gave USPSA lots of presents, lots of rules, potential provisional division, some actual equipment gear changes that we're actually considering, and seeing the internet explode as a result. So that was entertaining to say in the least.
Okay, so let's hop into this right off the bat. So this segment is going to be brought to you by Dominate Defense. Head over to Dominate Defense. Use promo code PARA10. Save 10% off your order. Also swing by Precision Holsters. Get their fast holster. Same promo code. Save 10%. Fantastic holster and Rune Tactical. Same promo code. We're all succinct. You save 10% off. Get an extra bullet in your mag. Maybe even 2 for those good times on the range. And,
hang on. You gotta see this.
Okay.
Here, I'll pull it out. So he actually sent me these followers because I was like, can I get these followers in any other color? And he's like, sure. So I now have them in, let's see. You can't see it very well. Tiffany
White.
blue.
Tiffany.
Aw.
Man, you get free stuff and I don't? I'm disappointed.
You got to be
Well,
careful now.
I thought you got all that federal ammo. I mean, come on, beggars and choosers.
Well, let me look. Nope, I just loaded the last of my 5,000 primers, so I am completely primerless right now.
Oh. I was feeling that when I was going through that 45. I've actually went through and just picked up in 3 inches of snow 45 brass yesterday because I'm feeling that. Anyways, new provisional divisions. Let's talk about it. What'd you drop? What are we doing? What are we mad at?
So the last board meeting in December, right before Christmas, that ended up being a 4-hour board meeting, but it was actually really productive. So Troy and the rules committee, they came out with a series of proposed rules changes that are adjusting the rules to kind of make things a little bit easier for us to be able to, for match directors to be able to deal with. Really, the big thing is changing things like stage descriptions. So short, medium, long course, we're eliminating the position descriptions. For those people that shoot PCC, you can actually look at your optic in the berm and not get DQ'd.
That's just actually a really good idea.
It was really good to see some of that stuff. We actually
What
put
was the old rule?
The old rule was basically if you unbagged, all you could literally do was just unbag. So if for some reason somebody wanted to check their dot, that was considered a DQable fence, even though you had a chamber flag in and the firearms unloaded. So there were a couple of instances in the last couple of years where DQs happened and it was correct per the rules, and you can be right and.
But per the spirit, it was kind of wrong.
Right.
You can't take the flag out and dry fire.
No. Like no manipulations. But like, let's say, for example, you're at a safe table, right? I mean, you can, or even if the gun's holstered, you can technically look at your dot and be like, okay, yeah, it's still on. But that didn't necessarily apply to PCC. So you literally just took it out of the bag at the berm, and you couldn't really do anything with your optic to make sure it was on or anything until you actually got to the line and you were under make ready, because the rules of the time basically considered that handling.
Well, that's a good fix.
I think so.
Yeah.
So, I agree.
That was really nice. Some changes to the stage design rules that I think will give us some more flexibility in terms of being able to make, short courses that aren't just 2-position stages, or medium courses that aren't just 3-position stages. We are actually putting some things out there for equipment changes for member comment and proposal that is actually giving you really the entire year to be able to evaluate this, rather than some of the changes that we might have put forward before, where it was, hey, none of us were really thinking about this. So things like changing capacity to production, potentially allowing optics into L10. And then I think the big one right now is really this limited optics as a potential provisional division, none of which is actually in place. It's just out there for the members to comment and kind of give us their take on it before we actually vote on it at the in-person board meeting, which is at the end of this month. So about 30 days.
So give us the headlines again. Optics and limited in L10.
No, a new division called limited optics.
Limited optics.
Right. Optics in L10.
Optics in L10.
Production, fill up the mag. Actually, sorry, there's 3, right? There's
production
3
magazine
options.
Capacity, right?
Magazine capacity.
Yeah, we're magazine capacity, 15 rounds,
or no changes.
Is. Right.
Oh, okay. Different options to consider.
Yeah,
right.
But the provisional division for limited optics is the only thing that would actually be on the table to be voted on and actually start this year. Everything else, per bylaw 16.2, we have to go through a period of evaluation. And so even if the overwhelming majority of membership approval intent was, hey, let's go to 15 or full capacity, we still have to go through a process of evaluation, and then we wouldn't even be able to vote on it until 2024.
Because they're existing divisions, correct?
Correct.
What does full capacity mean as opposed to 140 millimeters?
Well, 104. Well, right now we still have a box, right? So magazine capacity, right? So essentially, fill your mag up to capacity, but the magazine in the gun still has to fit in the box just like it does right now.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about what are we calling this? Limited optics. What is it?
Basically, it's 2011 welfare.
Well, it's limited with an optic, right? It's the exact same rule set as limited, except for it has an optic and for some reason a fucking laser.
Yeah, dude. Why the laser of all the things?
Because that's not limited. I would understand if you would have just copied limited and said put a red dot on it, but the laser thing makes.
Yeah, that one was. Well,
I did see that, and I don't remember us talking about that. But again, note that with the provisional division gives us the flexibility to be able to say, like, okay, yeah, like you guys don't necessarily agree with that. So the appendix that's out there is really the proposed appendix, but depending on the feedback that we get, Kenny, we can look at it and vote it on at the end of the month and go, okay, this was probably, we should modify this or just make it truly limited with a dot. One of the challenges we have with evaluating sort of new technology is that within the organization, the only really way you can do that is with a provisional division. Because we don't have an experimental division that says, hey, you can try it out here and be able to evaluate, hey, is this a viable division? Is it something that's competitive? Is it something that, people are actually willing to participate in? I mean, you could say open, but the reality is open is a 2011 with a comp shooting major with a frame mounted dot.
Right.
So
I'm sorry, but I thought almost every division now is relatively put down to 2011 kind of ish gun shooting now at high capacity. I mean, I'm sorry, but every division seems to be going and like. Do I think the laser's gonna go away?
There's still single stack, Tommy. You can go shoot that.
Let's talk. We can talk about single stack here in a minute.
No dots in revolver.
Well, it's just I don't know. Like The one thing, the whole lasers and limited optics or whatever like that just kind of bugs me because nothing ever gets taken away. Like the provisional rule changes, there's nothing. It's nothing that says like, would you like less rounds or more rounds? Would you like less weight or more weight? It's like more, or do the same.
I'm kind of surprised that nobody's talking about production here, because I mean that's like
it's
the
already
overwhelming
dead.
thing.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, but if you
to be honest, the magazine capacity I've talked about, that's not going to change anything, and all
don't think
limited
so?
optics
Kenny,
can do is
Kenny,
get limited too.
Kenny.
We're just
Oh, we
killing
talked
the
about that.
division for less competition.
Let's sew a fifth leg
It
on the
frustrates
stat.
the shit out of me. I'm like, lie. Another division is asinine to me.
Let's sew a fifth leg on the stat horse. People will ride it.
Yeah.
No? Yes?
I mean, anybody that went away from production, would adding 5 more rounds in their mag actually change anything?
Yes.
Really? The people that left production, you think they're like, oh, you know what? Screw having 23 rounds in my mag. I'm gonna go back to 15.
I mean, well, functionally, as a general statement, I mean, how many rounds do you need before you have to do a reload?
They got to take off the dot too.
12.
They got it.
Well, in carry optics, sometimes none now. They don't got to reload.
I understand that, but I mean, we had this discussion in another forum or another chat that we had, but if you were designing production today, what would production today look like? Now, remember, this is supposed to be, even though like historically it never was the entry division that everybody said it was. But today, under today's conditions, if a person was to go into a store today and buy a handgun off the shelf, what division does that look like?
Well, it can be any division now because any division takes any gun. What is that, a Beretta? What is that, 50-ounce Beretta? Where do you want to shoot it? Limited? You can shoot it there. Carry optics has got a dot gun. You can put it there. Guess what? Production, it can go there. You know why? Because if you can buy it at a store...
Does that gun come with an optic already?
No, but I'm pretty sure I could go find someplace that has an optic on it.
If I go buy a Canic, if I go buy a gun off the shelf today, I mean, some of these guns like the Canics, the Springfields, some of these guns come with everything you need. It comes with the gun, 2 to 3 magazines, holster, and the mag pouches. And a person could conceivably buy some ammunition and show up to the match with that gun and say, what division does this gun setup right now put me in? And the answer is production. If
the answer is anywhere,
and that's what the answer should be production.
We're gonna shoot a
Canic. And if we make the magazines, fill them up. The whole reason for having some arbitrary number for, well, I mean, let's do 10 rounds. Why 10 rounds? Well, because you had an assault weapons ban. Okay, well, let's fix it. Let's go to 15. Why did we decide 15? Because it was some arbitrary number we pulled out of our ass? That's the dumbest thing I ever fucking heard in my life.
Well,
why don't you actually do it what most normal people in the entire freaking world are going to do and fill the goddamn mags up and then let them shoot that? Oh, what division is that currently? That's limited. What's the majority of people shooting limited today in? Minor. Major is dead as fucking dead. It's not.
Is there numbers actually back that the majority of limited is minor?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you look at the participation activity numbers in USPSA right now, roughly 40% is carry optics, followed by open. Limited is roughly 18 to 19%, but based on the activity data, about half of that is minor. And those half that are shooting minor are essentially people that show up and say, hey, I've only got 3 mags, fill up your mags, go shoot limited.
So it's not overwhelming number shooting minor. If it's half, major still is very viable.
Right. And if you go to nationals, it's probably not half anyway. It's probably
if you go to any big match, limited is majority.
If we're just talking about like activity across the board though. So I mean, if you look at right now, what is it? 18% participation in limited and roughly 9% participation in production. If you go to 15 or magazine capacity, so that a new member shows up and shoots production instead of limited because of the rule set, then you're probably going to get a shift where it's limited is probably close to 9 to 10% participation. Maybe 12%. I mean, and that's not just within USPSA, even internationally. At the World Shoot, we had, if you looked at both production optics light, it was about 30 more than standard. And even within the overseas community, they're like, we're not shooting limited anymore. I mean, most countries can't reload 40. They're having to buy it off the shelf, and it's like $1 a round. So even in the last couple of years with COVID and the economy, you're see, even most of the regions are acknowledging that 40 standard or 40 major is on the downslope, and they're seeing that from their participation numbers as well.
Well, we all know that 40's slowly going the way of the buffalo here. The one thing that's kind of like, so there was a certain segment of the community that could not take their guns and shoot them in the most popular division. So why not, instead of having the provisional division, why not just have the year-long vote like we did with 15 rounds of production and whether or not to bring these guns actually into carry optics?
Well, part of the consideration behind that is again, you're talking about the timeline, right? So if carry optics, when it first came out, it was still relatively a theoretical item, right? There really weren't that many guns out there that had slide mounted optics. And so creating that, you sort of create the environment to be able to evaluate that. And then with the different changes that took place, it went from, okay, this is kind of interesting to, okay, this really is interesting. And now you're at the point where, like I said, we're looking at about 50% of new members showing up that go straight to carry optics. The thing with limited optics is that's really the easiest way for us to be able to analyze that. And so I understand that historically, when the organization has created a provisional division, the trend has been, hey, it basically becomes a division, and the process by which we evaluate it is not the most transparent. No, what we're certainly looking at here is that if we vote and approve limited division as a provisional division, there's going to be an analysis plan out there. I mean, it is laid out within the bylaws. Hey, there's a minimum 12 months that we're going to be looking at activity participation on a month-by-month basis. The plan is to have that information available to the membership, so that way on a monthly basis you say, hey, this month we had 5% participation, the next month we had 10%, whatever.
What's the cutoff? Are there any limits? Do you have any thresholds that are written right now? Or are you going to write them after the fact?
That is something that's really in development, because our challenge here is that it's not like we can model this out and go, okay, if we put this out there, we have some NASA model that says, hey, we're anticipating X%. I mean, is it realistically going to be somewhat of a guess? Yes, it is.
Okay, so then it's going to become a division.
Not necessarily.
No matter what happens, someone will say, well, looks good to me. Unless you have, when you do a test, you need to have like what passes the test and what doesn't pass the test before you start the test, right? If you want it to be a fair test and not just, well, looks good to me.
Well, I mean, then the question is what exactly is appropriate participation numbers, right? I mean, if we set it at 5, is that low? Right. So the analysis is not just, activity participation over a year. It's also, okay, what was the participation? What was the activity decrease from other divisions? And on a month-by-month basis, and that at the end of the year, realistically, we're probably going to say, okay, this was the first year that everybody started participating in the division. We still want to continue, and that also gives us the opportunity to go, okay, is the division as it's written right now appropriate for what we're seeing in terms of participation and what the industry is providing, or do we need to adjust that? And that's something that within the rules and with the bylaws, that's really the only way that we can go about doing that analysis.
Well, the devil's advocate thing here too is also that there are divisions that we currently have that would not pass any sort of number test in becoming an actual division. So if you say
if you went off a quantitative stat,
like 15%, we want 15% of the participation to carry optics. Is like, let's just draw a line across 4 divisions that wouldn't make that.
Hey Kenny, I have a question for you. So, I mean, you're a limited guy like since forever and ever. What do you think? Do you think the hardcore limited guys right now? Do you think they're going to go and jump over to limited optics? Would they buy a new gun, or would they mill the slide, or what? How would
you say hardcore? What do you mean, like Leo and myself?
Yeah, you guys kind of thing. If you're going to do it, would you take your existing gun?
That depends on the gun. My Infinity, why not? Change a breech face, put a barrel in it, and then I have a 9mm optic gun now. The guys that aren't running Infinities and stuff like that have changed whole new top end, then you might as well just sell the gun while you could possibly still get something out of it and buy a new one.
Yeah.
But I bet 50% of hardcore guys will go to an optic because aiming's hard, and instead of practicing, we just want easier divisions. That's why I want to put dots on everything. So yeah, I bet a lot of guys will jump from limited to limited optics.
Yeah.
I think it'll pull from open. I think all the guys shooting open minor right now, why wouldn't you go to limited optics? Take your comp off and it's the same damn gun.
In DC, I saw not one cop or security guard with a dot.
That's
Just
just
so you know.
that's just timing. Then
Well,
basically with that, and
just a data point for you.
Yeah.
no,
That's
for sure. I totally get you because it makes sense. But I mean, like talking to people like Jared and stuff like that, it's surprising how much institutional inertia exists. Where the old hat is like, this is what we've been doing it since forever, Sonny, and that's what we're going to do until I die or retire, sort of thing. And then eventually, like the younger generation comes in, and I mean, yeah, I mean, Kenny, I think you're right. I mean, aiming is substantially harder. You're essentially taking a manual transmission and giving somebody an automatic.
Well, I mean, it's just not the way that USPSA is going. Let's all face it. Everything's going red dot now. I mean, putting a red dot in limited 10, what's the point? Other than we all want red dots now. I think cops should all go red dots. I was talking to a DWR officer Monday when Vanessa did her hunter's ed test, and DWR is now all red dots. And he says the people that were like barely making the qual are now like easily passing the qual. So it makes sense for cops. I get it, but we're not police officers. We're playing a game, and it seems like this game is
correct. I think this is the point that's kind of lost it. Like everyone is using external vectors into why we should change the rule set of the game. But some rules, like Monopoly, what's happening in the economy outside should not affect the game of Monopoly. Because Monopoly should have a set of rules. And it seems like we are allowing so many vectors on the outside to dictate not just certain divisions that those would apply to, red dots on carry pistols, carry optics, 2011s and that. But we're also trying to let that dictate other things. Like
Tommy, how many times has baseball changed their rules?
Well, plenty of times.
So why?
I don't know. When was the last time baseball made a major change other than
DH
designated hitter?
It was like 10 years ago. They changed the time of it or whatnot.
Yeah,
I mean, they don't make a ton of.
They do not make a ton of things, and none of those.
Football changed.
But they're under a lot of pressure too.
Yeah, they're a much bigger organization than USPSA in that regard, for sure. But I guess the question that I have is, and this is like straight up a question. I don't have a motive on this thing. Is if we recognize that times change, equipment changes, the world changes, why are we so hesitant to allow change in this? Why is this the hill that we're like, no, by gosh, we're going to be shooting flintlocks and muzzle loaders until the cows come home? Why did we decide this is the point where we can no longer change? And we can use all kinds of excuses and reasons and what for is like the aiming system is easier and stuff like that. Well, the second that somebody put a fiber optic sight, the aiming system became substantially easier. So why is it we're okay with that aiming system and not with the traditional 3-dot sight?
I'm hesitant of changing rules. It's the frequency we're doing it at. Well, why do we ever, like you even brought this up, that the guy that's a new shooter, why are we changing our rules for the new shooters? If they're not even willing to stay in our sport, but we want to keep changing rules for new shooters, we're changing rules so frequently. We just said baseball hasn't changed rules in 5-6 years, but we want to change rules every freaking year. Well, why are we so gung-ho to change rules for new shooters? If you're not sticking around showing you're going to be part of the sport, why are we constantly changing rules for them?
The one
because those are the people who, the problem with USPSA, I mean, the answer to that is USPSA doesn't actually retain its membership. USPSA is constantly turning over people, so you still have to
driving them away by changing rules.
And we are changing the rules for the people who are not staying instead of keeping the rules the way they are for the people who are staying. And like if it gets put up for a vote, there the other external vector that's never even being taught is the martial aspect of the sport. It's like
I think Robbie Latham talked about that. If that's the case, then why don't we go back to why don't we actually make 9mm a legitimate like 140, 145 power factor instead of the 125, which he said was that the whole point of creation, according to what Sean Edmonds had posted, was for a 38 special to make power factor.
Let's read his Facebook post right there because I think Rob Latham has a couple great points in this.
You want somebody to read it?
Yeah, go ahead, read it. Thank you, Robert.
Here, hang on, let me just pull it up. He says, some of what Phil says I'd agree with, some of it not. The difference between a 59-ounce striker-fired 125 power factor gun and a 1911 style firing mechanism 59-ounce 125 power factor gun is insignificant. I believe porting and venting of gases in any manner constitutes compensating. Apply the usage to whatever division you like. There are some sensible arguments to be made for and against. That the single stack division is now the lightest weight limit and most compact division is silly. We no longer have a practical division. The 125 power factor thing is a holdover from a time when we wanted 38 special revolvers of questionable strength to be able to make minor. I still believe in power in the real world. The problem is if we now consider the 9x19 round to be the standard and sufficient, it should be at a power level commonly encountered, which is not 125. 125 is silly. I actually agree with that. I think 125 is a silly number. I mean, he's got a good point there.
We've decided to completely forget the entire martial aspect of the sport. And in fact, what we're sitting here and doing is just like any gun that comes out to play this video game that USPSA is turning into. It's like Glock 17, possibly that. What do you need? We need to make a division, and we need to change the division so we can get this 52-ounce P320 X5, this 50-ounce Beretta 92X Performance or whatever, Shadow 2s or whatever like that. So it started with that, and now it's becoming optics 2011s moving in. But we're not even leaving some martial aspect in some divisions. Like if we want to,
but that's why I think making production like fill up the mag. It's an iron. Let it be an iron sight division. Has to fit in the box. Fill up the mag.
40 ounces.
I think are you not creating another gear chase with that then? I have a question for you, Robert. Okay. PCSL, no, it wasn't PCSL. Whatever it was that was at the farm, that their production division, they put a cost on it, and you got pretty upset about that, right?
Oh
Robert?
Yeah, for sure.
How would you feel about that now?
How would I feel about that now?
If that was production in USPSA. The reason so that's production in PRS. Your rifle must meet a price limit, and your optic must meet a price limit. And if those are factory guns in those prices, that's production.
Okay, so that's a good question, and I think my answer to that is essentially I keep coming back to the idea of if we built the division today from ground up, what does that ground up look like?
Well, and because an actual production division putting the cost on it makes sense. Let them fill up their mags for $650. I don't know what a Glock 17 costs. I haven't bought a production pistol in a while.
But doesn't that then create that same equipment? Equipment
I don't think so, because if you keep the cost down, you can't make a Shadow 2 for $650. That's the same thing in PRS where you can't get an open rifle for $2,000.
Sure. Sure.
So it has to keep it to a realistic rifle, and I think if you could do that cost in production, you could do the same thing. It would more likely end up being a polymer gun or a Beretta, something like that.
The one thing that I find is kind of weird is like we're having arguments of like where are these guns going to go, and obviously we have too many places for these guns to go. The fact is that we could literally have a martial side of the sport. We could cut it right now. Limited carry optics, production, revolver, single stack. Oh, and on the other side of that sport, like the people who wanted to take their Glocks or their 320s and pound them out, we definitely would have open, limited optics, PCC, so on and so forth. We could do both, but what seems to be happening is you want to put 15 rounds in production, fine. I'll take 15 rounds. I'll take 20 rounds of production or whatever fits in the grip of the gun. Give me something that resembles something that
my only problem with that, Tommy, is number one, how do you officiate 15 rounds? Because we've already proven that at major matches,
how do you officiate 23? It goes empty.
How do we got command 15 rounds, Tommy? 15 rounds, Tommy. That it doesn't. The range officers, unless you have a stage that's set up so that a production shooter is going to go to slide lock at a certain point, and you have a smart, like a Steve Koski type RO. It's really hard to officiate. Even in IPSC, they say that we can't do 15. So 15 doesn't make any sense.
What's this hold? Fill it up.
That's my contention.
Yeah, that's fine.
Why not just let them fill it up? It still has to fit in the box. So we're automatically making it so they can't. I mean, yes, you will always have a company that's going to figure out how to stuff one more round in it. But you know what? I think we should be encouraging that. That's one of the things about USPSA that makes us really unique. Is the reason that we're even having this optics discussion today is because we were so damn good at forcing the innovation through the red dots that the company stepped up and they created red dots that are now really damn viable.
No, I know. We just lose the martial aspect of it. Anyways. Yeemin, thoughts being quiet there for 26 minutes while we're arguing with each other like a bad family with guests over.
This is actually a great discussion because, again, when we talk about the rules changes, we're bringing this up to you. We really can't even vote on this for a year. So the fact that we're having this type of discussion at the beginning of 2023, and if we are able to sustain this and bring up various things to consider about, okay, well, if we do this with a division, if we do this with a division, what are the potential unintended consequences, right? I think that's great. It's great to have that sort of discussion and be able to hammer out like, okay, if we do decide to go to 15, if we do go to MAC capacity, what does that do? Nothing that has been proposed out there is set in stone. There really is no decision on that saying like, hey, we're definitely going to approve this. Even with limited optics itself, at the end of the day, it's putting that out there. It's making the membership aware that this is something we're considering and giving them, the membership the opportunity to say, okay, well, this is what I think the pros and cons.
It's not only something you're considering, it's something that is almost certainly going to happen. Just based on history and based on the fact that you don't have a hard limit and you're going to make up a limit now after you've already announced it. So it's going to be a touchy-feely decision, which is probably going to be yes.
I mean, if you said,
I think
I'm all in favor.
USPSA for a long time knows it'll be.
Well, I mean, I can't really speak for what was done beforehand. I mean, I understand.
Well, I can.
That wasn't.
We've all seen it.
Right.
We've all seen it.
All I can say is that, like, look, there is a plan. There will be a plan release that says, hey, this is how we're analyzing it.
Okay.
And look, at least from my perspective, we're not. You got
to release the test before you start the test, or else it's a bullshit test.
Well,
you can't just say, is this fire hot? Well, I
limited
the thermometer. The thermometer says 690, but I think it's hot.
We just released this out for the membership to comment like 6 days ago. So again, if this were to be approved, that would be set out for you. So we're not even voting on this for like 27, 28 days. So
just promise me you'll have a test with a hard line in the sand before it's released.
Don't promise anything. Be a good politician. Don't promise shit.
I like limited optics is going to happen, and I think very well it should happen.
There's a lot of companies. There's a lot of companies making 2011 guns that have dots on it.
There's a lot of people are making Derringers.
Go shoot open.
So it can pop up there. It can sit there and happen. Whatever happens, the other division's fine. You want to fix production? Let them fill up the mags that are basically stock grip length. Make it 140 power factor. And I'd be excited to go shoot that division. Oh, and put a weight limit on it.
Yes.
So that fixes it for you, Tom. But in the large scheme, does that fix it for? I don't think there's much you can do to production that's going to make people want to come back from carry optics to production.
It's going to be tough.
No, you would have to make changes.
I mean, honestly, Robert, if they fill up your max,
if they let me fill them up, I'd really look at coming back.
I'd take your dot off, take your base pads off.
I don't know. It'd sure be something fun to do.
You'd do it in the winter for one match, and you'd be like, "This sucks. I hate this. Iron sights are terrible."
I'm not saying you're wrong, but I mean, we've shot limited together as a limited minor, and I've shot nationals because we shot it in 2020, and we just stuck around and shot limited minor, and it was a freaking gas. It's fun to shoot your iron sight gun, and you don't because. One of the coolest things about production as it existed with being a 10-round division, it was very cerebral. You really were like, you were playing that game of like, okay, I mean, I'm going to 10 here. I mean, am I going to have to really buckle down and aim? But if I had 2 more rounds in the gun, like, okay, maybe I can let it hang out there a little more. That was fun. Is it going to be the be all end all? No, I don't think so. I think the world has very clearly said that optics are the future. And anybody that tries to deny that, they're just whistling past the graveyard.
What about
because
this?
It's just a natural extension.
What if we bring the optics into USPSA, maybe not all at once, but over the next 4 or 5 years, and we kill some dead divisions, so there's not 9 divisions in USPSA.
Well,
What
if we do that,
the
then
three-
we do kind of
three
what
lows?
Keanu had it's a friend I have. He had an idea. He says, okay, consolidate down to four divisions. Opens, it's the same rules as now. Limited, same rules as now, but allow the slide ride optics with minor scoring only. Production, approved guns using the same criteria as now. Minimum 2,000 units produced. No external mods other than the grips and sights. No magazine capacity limit, but the magazine or the gun must still fit in the box. Optics are allowed, but limited to 15 round magazine capacity. Classic revolver 1911s and optics are okay. That's 4 divisions. It's not perfect.
I don't
There's
have
details to it.
No,
That's
I don't
pretty
have
solid.
I don't have a
I know.
big problem with that.
Nope.
That's actually not.
I'd rather have that
thought
than
was
9 divisions.
I thought that was a pretty good thought that came out of his head on that. I really did.
I would just like the one big thing I want from Christmas 2023 is someone to bring a scale to a USPSA match just for a few divisions. Like Rob's right. Like God, that 1911 is like the most restricted division with the smallest guns, with the smallest weight limit, and with the capacity. It's like, how do they even officiate that?
It's
How?
impossible.
How can
I just want a division where I can shoot this gun in it.
you got PCC? You can do that.
Get out.
No, they don't let stabilizer
We're not
braces.
making another
Oh, that's
division,
right.
Robert.
Never mind.
But-
Pay the
But
two
I mean,
sauce.
if I show up and I have this gun, and you have this like dumbass impression that you want to be like, hey Robert, is that a stabilized brace? Is that a Form 1? The answer is going to be, first of all, lower your voice. Secondly, do you want to shoot this after the match or not?
And if you want to raise your voice, head on over to Telegram and shoot us a message, and Robert's going to read them after we've gone an hour and 7 minutes fighting with each other like we always do. Go.
I just want to say one thing. The rules, not the divisions. We've said the rules. I actually think a lot of that's good on USPSA. Most of those I agree with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
So
actually
good, good job on the rules audit. Like a lot of that I agree with. I don't like a couple of them. Most of it, I thought it was cool.
Yeah, Troy and the rest of the RMI core actually did a really good job with that. I mean, I got a chance to look at that prior to the rules committee meeting, and then again when it was presented before the board. Again, 85%, 90% of that, like, thank God, it was a long time coming. So I'm really glad that we, it was a year-long process, but it was really good to see some positive stuff out of that.
Before we leave this, Yeemin,
Don't worry, we're coming back to it real quick.
Your personal decision, production. How would you fix it if you had unilateral power?
Here's the can of worms you're asking him to get into.
Yeah.
Because whatever comes out of his mouth is literally going to be on the next PSI and be like, did you see what he did? He's trying to like rule by fiat.
Well, he'll get a $10,000 check and they won't vote for him next time anyway. So who gives a shit? Rip it, Yeemin, hit it.
Wait, I got a $10,000 check. Where?
No, possibly.
I actually haven't really. I mean, I honestly haven't decided yet. So, I mean, my initial thought was, factory magazine fits in the box. That was something that would be a little bit more accessible to folks that just show up in USPSA. And then Jared Fox actually brought up a really good point. Okay, well, let's say I take a 17 round CZ mag and I can fill it up to capacity. Okay, now I put my gram follower and my gram springs in there and I can get 20 or 21. So again, that's why I'm really happy to hear this discussion go on, because it brings up things that, didn't really think about that. How would we manage that? And at the same time, I go to the World Shoot and I ask people about 15 rounds, and even the IPSC Iroa guys were like, dude, we can't count to 15 either. But to be fair, how often do we actually run into that at a major match? It does become a self-policing thing. So if we made it 15 rounds, everybody kind of knows it's 15 rounds, and we usually do a pretty good job policing ourselves.
True.
Either way, at the end of the day, regardless of if it's 15 rounds or if it's factory capacity or whatever, I do think it's time for us to be able to acknowledge that, production as it existed in 2000, is not the production that we have now. You can just look at, the guns that you got over Christmas, Tom, that SP 2022, right? That is not, that wasn't around when production first came out, and you can look at firearms that the common American buyout can get out there, and they're almost semi-custom at this point, right? So a production gun is not some Glock that's got a crappy trigger on it. Oh gosh, I have to compete against fancy guns. You can see that even the firearm industry is coming out with very reasonably priced firearms that are very excellent out of the box in terms of performance, and we have to kind of be able to account for that.
Honestly, in a dream world, screw production, screw around. Just give me a carry division. Give me 39 ounces. Give me a Glock 19 box. with that magazine in there. Let me put a light on it.
We have that, Tommy. It's called IDPA.
Yeah.
You can go
No,
shoot that.
that'll be the.
It's
that'll
called
be the
open. You can shoot whatever you want in that, Tom.
Oh, that's right. Well, that's limited. That's carry optics. You can
There you
do
go.
production.
That's kind of the funny thing that we bring that up. I mean, it's like we always talk about like equality among the shooters within divisions, and whenever we do that, we always seem to go to the most outlier of situations as the reason why we can't do X. And what was it? It was the match just before Christmas. It was cold. Honestly, I did not want to have to pick up magazines off the ground. And I'm like, I've got my 45, my PCC. I'm going to take that out for no other reason than I know going into it, I'm going to be limited. I'm not, it's not like I'm just going in there and be like, I'm going to kick everybody's butt in this game. I knew what it was that I was going in there with. I had no illusions that the 45 is not the most optimal platform, but I took it because it's a gun that I like and it's a gun that I had fun shooting. I don't know why we have to create a rule set based on the extreme outliers. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I know, but we're doing it now because we made a rule set for guns that have no business in the martial aspect of the sport. Anyways,
having said that,
we had this conversation last time, Robert, about people say, "Well, I just want to shoot for fun," but then those are the same people wanting their own division. Well, if you're there just to shoot for fun, any gun you buy will fit somewhere in USPSA.
Literally,
we're playing for fun. Don't want your own division.
Kenny, that's my whole point, though.
I know that I'm agreeing with you. So we talked about this, I think, 2 podcasts ago. That was my thing. Is people say, "I'm here just for fun." 2 months later, when do we get a division for this gun? If you want to shoot for fun, shoot open. There you go.
We're playing a divisional game of Twister where every color on the mat is yellow.
I'm not there to shoot for fun.
Next question. Yeah, next question. Funds for.
Yeah, but Kenny, you stopped showing up, and I kind of cried a little bit, and it hurt my feelings.
You want to be honest, Robert? I don't enjoy USPSA much lately. The way it's gone last 3 years, I don't enjoy it. Like PRS is much more fun to me right now.
Well, that just hurts me in the field.
I'll just be dead honest. The way stages have gone, the way competition's gone, it's just not. The last 3 matches I've shot, it was like, wait, is everybody shooting a dot gun? Because that's what the stages are. And guess what? I'm not shooting a damn dot gun. I don't want to shoot all dot stages.
What is it? What is a dot stage versus? It's funny because I remember back in the Johnson days, it was all
open.
It always felt like it was just all drag race, all open targets. There was no technical aspect to any of it. And don't get me wrong, it was actually really fun. But you're kind of playing the game of, like where's the balance? And then if that's the case, and I'm just thinking this, how do you instruct your stage designers to build? How do you teach them to build better stages? Because if you're building stages that are carry optics, then you have to.
I don't know what the answer is to this question, but I know this is an hour and 15 minute long podcast. Get to the damn questions on Telegram.
What is a dot stage? When there is less than 10 open targets in the whole match, that's a dot match. And that literally the last match I shot, there were 7 open targets.
Yeah, that was a rough.
Was it like hardcover?
Everywhere.
It was terrible. Yeah,
that's what we're getting at is the divisions are becoming so easy to shoot. The only way to challenge people now is partial everything because everybody's got a dot. Everybody's got 24 rounds.
That's not. You can test people without having to do partials.
Thanks for downloading, listening, and subscribing.
All right, I'll skip through some of these.
We're gonna crash before we land on the carrier. We spent all our gas talking about divisions. We have more episodes. We'll talk about this next week.
Okay, here's the good one though. Did everyone participate in the USPSA survey on the proposed rules changes?
Yes. Next question.
I don't vote. So, from Alex Went, what should you do if you know the ammunition your friend made is subminor?
Go grab the chrono out of your car.
Well, that's the problem. I went out with Mr. Went yesterday and had a dandy of a time, and out of his Glock.
So this is about you, Tom.
No, out of his. Listen, my shit was. No, so I would just advise him.
The plot twist on this was Tommy was shooting 45, and it did make minor, not major, but it made minor.
I like seeing him hit the target. What can I say? I like guiding him in. Out of his Glock 34, some of them made it. Oh. Out of his P30.
It's a little bit sketchy.
So it's time for Alex to get a chrono.
Yes, it's very much time for it. I'm not even going to bring up his standard deviation on some of his wad cutter loads that came out.
Were they all over the map?
Just out of curiosity, what do you guys consider a good standard deviation in a pistol?
Like, if I can get within 20, I'm fine. 20's good.
I don't even care.
I'm not a math Asian, so I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
It's your standard difference in your velocities. Your extreme spread would be your highest and lowest. Your standard deviation is your average of differences in your velocity.
God, I'm pretty OCD about it. I want like 10 or less.
Wow.
Okay, so
really?
me and Yeemin are on the same page so far.
No. I just keep bumping the power factor up there until it doesn't matter.
Until it can't go anywhere else. We did.
I mean, at a certain point, 154 could drop 10 points, and I'm still in the game.
It depends on the powder too, though, right? I mean, with tight group, if I had anything less than if I had anything less
powder's
than
what
5
kind of gives
SD,
you the standard deviation.
yeah,
Powder and primer. We'll give you standard.
Yeah, I'll tell you that we shot some gold dots. We shot some 22 Magnum gold dots, and we shot some 230 grain gold dots, and we got 15 feet of standard deviation out of the 45 caliber gold dots, and we got less than 10 out of the 22 Magnum standard deviation out of those 22 Magnum gold dots.
Kenny, I think on average, I think the most I ever really see is about 15 to 20. It's,
That's
I mean, outside of like
that
some
seems
just
to be
crazy
Dylan's.
like crazy something's off, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that's.
but
I was just curious
because
because
about
it's
10,
funny
20.
shooting major matches. Like you watch the chronos, some people you're like, ooh, you know, their ES is 100, and so I was just curious. I mean, I'm kind of same as you. Like if my SD is over 10, I'm like, all right, I'm doing something wrong.
Well,
Right.
Alex would have prayed of a standard deviation out of his 38 loads at 100. That would have been solid. I think I could have caught 2 of them. Anyways, next question.
We're just gonna cut it off right there because we've already discussed most of them.
All right, thank goodness. You guys
And
talk
Tom,
like
let's
this
get this
ain't-
going on.
this
What do you
ain't the
think
last
about medium
episode.
courses being Virginia count, Tom?
What was that?
I
Medium
just want
courses
to drag
being
it on longer.
No.
Oh,
No.
God.
What do you,
That was one of the rules. That's what I wanted to ask Tom, but I'm totally kidding.
A medium course being Virginia. What do
Thank
you
you
mean?
for downloading,
That was
listening,
one of the rules.
subscribing.
Of
I'm
medium
Tom
courses not
Nelson.
being Virginia count now.
We'd like to thank you for checking out our
That-
sponsors and
that could be
sharing it with
interesting.
friends, doing all that. So,
I mean,
for
I wouldn't like it.
Steve Koski, Robert Wyatt, Kenny Terry, and USPSA President Yeemin Lin, I'm Tom Nelson, bidding you peace, love, and soul as we depart into the open waters of the Sea of Life on a little tugboat we like to call the PARAcast. It's a freaking 3-day weekend. I don't want to spend the whole time doing this damn show.
Hasta
Goodbye,
la vista,
everybody.
baby. Good night, everybody.
Participate in the survey. It's the only way we're going to pay attention, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun.
Hey Tom, I've nailed like